The thoughts, opinions, and general overall shade thrown on High at 9 News are those of the individual speakers and not those of High at 9 News, its audience, or its advertisers. The statements made do not constitute medical, legal, or financial advice, and for advice tailored to your specific situation, please consult with a licensed professional. Welcome to the High at 9 News Hour, where you will hear from cannabis industry experts and professionals from around the country talk about important topics while shining light on global issues and discussing cannabis as it relates to politics, regulation and reform, data and technology, science, research and medicine, family and parenting, art, celebrities and entertainment, fitness, sports, mental health and wellness, and plant-based medicines and entheogenics. Together, we are building a stronger community, fighting the stigma and creating change. With your hosts, Jason Beck and Rico Lamitte, joined by special industry expert correspondents from around the country, and daily antics brought to you by Cannabis. Coming to you live every Monday through Friday at 9 a.m. Pacific Time and high noon on the East Coast. And thank you all for getting high at 9 with us. Yeah. Good morning, guys. That's right. It is Tuesday, February 11th. It's 2/11, you guys.
2/11.
Yes, it's 2/11 in progress, technically. Today,
fuck ska reggae.
Oh boy. Today is a National Inventors Day. Shout out to all the inventors out there.
Nice.
All those stories that you be making up, Jason.
All that entrepreneurial spirit out there in America, the greatest country in the world.
Inventing stories.
It's also National Peppermint Patty Day.
Nice.
I guess this is in honor of the past press secretary.
Or peanuts.
Peppermint Patty.
You know, Peanuts kids, Peppermint Patty.
It's also national. Yeah,
wah.
Exactly. It's also National Shut-In Visitation Day. I feel like that's a jail reference for some reason.
I think it's an old people reference.
Oh, is that?
Shut-in, isn't that it's a protest reference, right?
I'm asking you guys this.
Yeah, it's a protest reference.
I think shut-ins are people that don't have any visitors and or usually poverty-stricken and nowhere to go.
It is a person confined indoors, especially as a result of physical or mental disability.
Sounds like jail to me.
Recluse.
Protesting reality.
Sounds like jail to me.
Patient.
Sounds like jail to me. It's also National. You're gonna like this. This goes along with that. It's also National White T-Shirt Day. Shout out to white T-shirts.
Kanye West likes white T-shirts, doesn't he?
He does.
Mm-hmm.
Sure does.
Mm-hmm.
Oh man, spent a lot of money on that Super Bowl ad there, Yeet.
Oh boy. Speaking of that, it's also National Don't Cry Over Spilled Milk Day.
You don't drink milk, you'll never spill it.
Mm-hmm. It's also National Make a Friend Day.
I got enough.
It's probably because of Drake, right? No new friends.
Well, he should have listened to his own advice. Just saying.
Yeah, and it's also Safer Internet Day.
Yeah, man, you can get your VPN on and pretend like you are secure. Ain't nothing safe on the internet.
Oh boy. Thank you all for joining us and getting high at 9 with us. It's also high noon on the East Coast. And please remember to like, share, and subscribe to us on all social media platforms. You can look up above and down below on your screen to see exactly where we live on the internet. And we are live every Monday through Friday on YouTube, Rumble, Twitch, X, Instagram, Facebook. And now you can also find us on LinkedIn and Kick, as well as on our very own website at www.highat9news.com. So welcome to everyone joining us from any one of those platforms, you guys. And we are going to kick it off with the dope dad himself, Mr. Rico Lamitte, the man whose hat is upside down, even though it still fits on his head. That's right. It is the dope dad himself, Mr. Rico Lamitte.
Yeah, Jason. Well, more details were released on Republican efforts in the Senate to block cannabis business tax deductions, even if marijuana were to be rescheduled or legalized. High 9 News' Yarrow Kubrin reported yesterday scheme to prevent cannabis businesses from receiving tax relief through the No Deductions for Marijuana Business Act. My reading today offers a major correction, as Jason Beck and Jesse Barney commented on this being a state bill, which it is not. This is a federal bill, not just tied to Oklahoma. In crafting the No Deductions for Marijuana Business Act, Langford was joined on the Senate floor on February 6th with Nebraska's Pete Ricketts, another Republican hell-bent on punishing plant-touching businesses, even if cannabis is moved from Schedule 1 to Schedule 3. Currently under Section 280E of the Internal Revenue Code, cannabis businesses cannot deduct standard business expenses due to its classification as a Schedule 1 substance. If rescheduled to Schedule 3, the tax burden would be lifted, but Langford and Ricketts' bill seeks to extend 280E restrictions to cannabis businesses indefinitely, regardless of rescheduling. According to Cannabis Business Times' Tony Lang, the senators collaborated on the bill with prohibitionist group Smart Approaches to Marijuana, whose president, Kevin Sabet, argues that the federal government should not provide tax relief to what he calls an addiction for-profit industry. However, data shows that only 27.3% of U.S. cannabis businesses were profitable in 2024 compared to 65.3% of small businesses. Langford has previously opposed cannabis reform, having led efforts to challenge the DOJ's rescheduling proposal in 2024. Lang closed the article out by saying the future of cannabis rescheduling remains uncertain, particularly with changes in the White House and new prohibitionist leadership at the Drug Enforcement Administration, Department of Justice, and Office of Management and Budget. Langford tweeted at 10:46 a.m. yesterday, "Marijuana does not make our families stronger, our streets safer, and our workplaces more productive. Businesses who sell federally illegal drugs, including marijuana businesses, should not get federal tax breaks. My No Deductions for Marijuana Businesses Act clarifies tax law to make sure a federally illegal product does not have legal tax deduction," end quote. I understand Yarrow was driving while delivering his take yesterday, but the rest of the team reacted to this being an Oklahoma story while it was and is not. This is federal. Langford Senate committees include Committee on Finance, Committee on Homeland Security and Governmental Affairs, where he's on the permanent subcommittee on investigation, subcommittee on border management, federal workforce, regulatory affairs, subcommittee on disaster management, District of Columbia, and census, select committee on ethics, where he's the chairman, select committee on intelligence. Pete Ricketts sits on the committee on banking, housing, and urban affairs, committee on environmental public works, foreign relations, and on the budget. The fact that these two gentlemen with so much power have teamed up with Kevin Sabet to essentially bury cannabis operators financially nationwide is something that needs to be taken very seriously as a threat to the industry as a whole, as folks are barely staying afloat as things are. Should this tax burden be implemented indefinitely, as Langford puts it, or as I interpret it, as permanently, just remember who they are working with full-time to offer tax relief to: corporations and the ultra-wealthy. And also, let's just say, special interests that Doge has conveniently been silent about. Per Open Secrets, Langford's biggest funding contributions come from the oil and gas industry and AIPAC. Ricketts' top two contributors were the securities and investment industry and AIPAC. Very interesting. If your focus is on the players and the plays made on the field, then you're a fan. Following the money is going to lead you right up to that box where the real decisions are made. A much bigger game is being played here that we should all be aware of. Don't get distracted. I'm Rico Lamitte, the dopest dad on the street for High at 9 News.
I see where you're trying to go with this, Rico. See where you were trying to go.
It's where I went. I went to where the money is. Mm-hmm. The money is telling you a very different story. And you were saying this is an Oklahoma story. This is not Oklahoma. This is nationwide. And this motherfucker's coming out.
Is this a story, federal, some federal rule about cannabis operators and even taxation? It's not going anywhere. Plus, also, it's like pointing out all this stuff doesn't actually like tell a story, Rico. It's like, yes, there are GOP lawmakers that do not want cannabis operators to have any fucking breaks. This is not news.
I think no. I think it is news, and I think what we are seeing, because I did see a tweet from Kevin Sabet and singing these senators' praises on X. Yeah. Okay, but here's the thing. I think this is just them using the remainder of their USAID money, which I'm working on an original piece about how USAID was funding Project Sam.
This is political fellatio. This is just like everybody trying to jockey for position in the GOP. This is nothing. This is like a so-so story. You know, Oklahoma has a lot of issues, like the border issues, like all those things that you mentioned.
This has nothing to do with Oklahoma. This is federal.
No,
Pete Ricketts is not Oklahoma.
He's speaking.
I'm telling you that Oklahoma has a lot of these issues, and that's why it's at the forefront. But they've been combating the largest influx of illegal cannabis operations in the United States, and it's huge, right? It's like they're growing a lot of weed there, so of course they want to mitigate that. They want to try to get everybody out of that state that's operating pretty much, but they're introducing it at a federal level. Guess why, Rico? Because they control the Congress. That's why, and that's what they're going to try to do. So it's not like you're wrong that you're stating that it's federal, but it's like it's coming out of this primordial shit soup that the GOP has been spitting about cannabis for a long time, and they're going to try to get done whatever they can, and we know that, and they've already done it in the first 2 weeks. So this is not news. This was not even worthy to repeat.
No, it's news. Rico loves to bash Republicans any chance he gets. You know what I'm saying? And in all fairness, these two Republicans need to be bashed. They're definitely prohibitionists, and they need to be called out on it. So I'm not afraid to let them know straight up that they need to evolve on this issue. They're not. This is a wrong policy from the jump street, and I would really like to see how much money Kevin Sabet put into their campaign to help put this legislation to advance it.
Jason, I gotta push back a little bit there. I'm an equal opportunity basher.
Yeah.
Democrats are doing some shit. I'm gonna call them out on some shit too. But if these people are in power, and he's in power of the purse strings and straight up pushing this on a federal level to make sure that cannabis companies, plant touching cannabis companies, never get away from 280E. It is very much news.
I will say this though too, Saman. I do agree with you in the fact that this bill is DOA, is dead on arrival. It's just a hype piece to try to shock value, so they can bring back to some of their constituents at home to say, hey, we're trying to eradicate the issue on a national level because there's so many problems going on in Oklahoma and da 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 da. And so this is just political pandering. I don't think this bill is going to go anywhere. I'm not even worried about it.
I agree.
I think what we need to talk about is the fact that 23% of cannabis business is profitable. 23%. How does an industry survive on unprofitable businesses? And the answer to that, it doesn't.
Well, here's the thing though, is that the trap industry is thriving very well because they're not subject to any of this bullshit, Todd.
That's right.
The hemp industry.
Yeah, the hemp industry. Yeah. Shout out to, what I'm saying?
We don't call it the trap anymore, Jason. We just call it the THCA market now. That's what the trap turned into.
It's all THCA at the end of the day. That's what I have to say.
Bobby's Bodega on the corner, literally the corner of the street down here, and we're selling,
But part of the reason that these guys are not successful and everyone is not successful is because these damn taxes.
So
I think
that's the story, right? And there's a continuum, and there's a line, and I'll be covering it in my next article today. And I'm glad that Rico picked this one back up because I was driving, because our analysis was incomplete, and we were talking about a state instead of a nation yesterday. And also, and I think this is where I would disagree with you, Saman. It is a nothing story in so much as this is political theatrics, and as Jason said, likely going nowhere. But but in that respect, it isn't a story. But the reason why it is a story is because it telegraphs a political position, a sentiment in Congress. It's indicated. You're not going to interrupt me.
Hold on, Saman. Let him talk. Saman, let him talk.
It's not going to happen, bro. I'm going to give you the space, and you're going to do the same. What it does. Come on, stop. Mute yourself, please. What it does indicate is that there is a feeling within these elected representatives that the political tailwinds are at their back, that they have the lane to grandstand and to performatively indicate that they are against cannabis. And I think that that is a bad indication for what we hoped that there was going to be an evolution under this president that was going to help further the industry. And I think when we see this kind of stuff happening from one side of the aisle, it's pretty clear that those hopes and dreams are being dashed against the rocks of the reality that under this administration, we might actually see the opposite and not a progression, but a regression.
I mean, I appreciate the eloquent Shakespearean effort there, but like, again, this is not news. This is not news at all. I think you just need to maybe, Yarrow, work on a different adjective instead of nascent for our industry, and maybe that's what we should work on today.
Did I use the word nascent today?
No, but like we need a new word to describe this industry here, as we were alluding to. But it's not.
I like evolving.
Evolving is. The GOP and evolution also is kind of like an oxymoron. They don't believe in it, so I don't know if they're going to actually do it, Jason. But let's see. Let's see what happens.
I don't know. I've seen plenty of Republicans evolve on this issue, so you know what I mean.
Yeah, let them get some more funding. APAC.
Yes, I see where you're trying to go with that, but I will say this, Rico, in the chat, Steve Blessingham does say Rico does bash both sides. He's an equal opportunity basher, so
hell yeah,
kudos to
bash
that,
brother.
You might as well just call you Jose Canseco or Mark McGuire.
Yeah, I'm talking about bashing the government altogether, no matter who's in charge.
Jose Prosecco. More like
that's what that's what
hold their feet to the fire.
That's what Big Balls is doing right now. That's got them all freaked out about.
Big balls, little dick, huh?
Oh boy! Whoa! Jeez. Guys, you know, anything you have to say about this, Jenny Beth? It's so nice to see you today.
I know.
We haven't seen you in so long.
I just want to get it off real quick. Let's all let each other speak because I'm too fucking tired to yell at people to shut the fuck up.
Jenny's tired. Oh, Jenny's tired. Oh. You have anything you want to say on this, Todd? We know you love to bash Republicans.
It's always a story if you know, it affects tax-paying businesses, right, that are trying to make a living and trying to employ people and trying to drive revenues. So it's always a story, in my opinion. And will it go anywhere? Probably not, because of the lack of evolution of the GOP that it has control. And I agree with Yarrow. I think it will regress. It won't get any better. It will get worse. And unfortunately, us business owners are the ones that suffer. Us constituents are the ones that suffer.
Let's take a poll. Can we take a poll? Who thinks it's going to go?
We haven't got that far with Anthony with taking polls yet, bro. We haven't got that far yet, so that's not happening.
Yeah, man. Slide down that poll. Go ahead, slide down it.
Why don't we just have him put a 1 or something in the chat?
We can do that. What do you want to ask the group?
Who thinks it's going to go? Who thinks the industry is going to go forward in this administration or go backwards? If you think it's going to go forward, put a 1. And if you think it's going to go backwards, put a 2 in the chat.
And put a 0. And put a 0 if you think that nothing's going to happen.
Oh, that's a good one, Jason.
Yes. Give everybody all the options.
Hey,
Look at this.
Put a 3 in there if you believe that it is the greatest number of all time.
Damn, Yarrow was the worst number 2.
Yep. I mean, that's Yarrow, number 2.
We're in uncharted territory because when we look back on the history of the GOP, tax reform, less taxes on business, less regulation, and supporting the entrepreneur has been the professed plank of that party. And so if someone had told me 4 or 5 years ago that we would not be united in bipartisan commitment to reducing taxes for the industry, I wouldn't have believed it.
All right, fair enough. We're going to roll into our first commercial, and we are going to be right back.
Oh man, your knees still bothering you, man?
Yeah, my left one, And I'll tell you what, I've been using this new CBD cream, and it works like a miracle.
CBDs. I done heard about them CBDs. I was out there on them Twitters the other day, and I heard they get you high as a kite.
Well, not this stuff. This stuff is tested. Every batch, all the way through, pharmaceutical grade, and in a GMP certified facility. So you know you're not going to have to worry about flying high.
GMP certified? I might have to try some of this out. Where I'm even find this?
You go directly to aimhighhemp.com and they will ship it to your door right away. Tested. It's not a name, it's a promise.
And we are back, Rico. We're back, buddy.
Up next is the partying partisan himself, known for smoking the best weed in the world, the highest Republican in every room, and he's got more spin than the world on a tilted axis.
Oh,
Jason
yes. Good morning, Rico. I like that. I definitely have plenty of spin. That's for sure. Or this story is going to spin some people's head around, as a matter of fact, because a DEA official says that marijuana rescheduling is, in quotes, delayed. Certainly not dead. I know Chris Brady's pretty happy about that. A DEA official speaking on the condition of anonymity says the agency is still moving forward with rescheduling marijuana, despite delays that have raised concerns among supporters. The official described the process as delayed, but certainly not dead, and emphasized that acting administrator Derek Waltz has made it clear internally that he does not intend to halt the reform effort, you guys. According to the official, Waltz has assured DEA personnel that, in quotes, it's not my intention to kill rescheduling, signaling that the agency remains engaged in the review process. However, the timeline remains uncertain, and with a DEA judge recently canceling a series of public hearings that were set to begin on January 21st and run through March 6th, the judge set a 90-day timeline to reassess the situation. 90 days, interesting. They keep coming up with that number. Last year, the same official correctly predicted the timing of the DEA's rescheduling announcement, but was incorrect about the final order coming by October. The official told us in September that the delay was due to internal conflict causing a delay. The judge's ruling in January gave credence to this statement, while the judge heavily criticized the agency for failing to comply with procedural directives in its submission of evidence. While we can verify that this individual is indeed employed by the DEA, their specific claims about the agency's ongoing actions cannot be independently confirmed, they say. Well, I wonder, ever since the DEA got rid of their milligram problem and stepped up to the big leagues, if we might actually see some progress on this. But ultimately, I hope that we don't, because I'm not a fan of rescheduling, but I can't wait to hear what all of you guys have to say about this.
Delay, deny, defend.
Oh, the 3 Ds. I see what you did there.
Rich.
Cute, and cuter, you guys.
Yeah, but it's small D energy, because it's not going anywhere, and we know this is going to end up in a non-satisfactory place.
But if you're a small person, it still looks big, though, right?
Depends on your size of your hands. I mean, we knew this wasn't going anywhere with the Biden administration. I don't think it's going anywhere with the Trump administration. I don't think a changing of the guard is going to have a changing of the outcome.
I mean, I do think it's interesting that that they're saying that they don't have the position to hamper the progress, so per se. I think that is very, very telling overall as far as the whole administration's position.
I think this is a tactic to weed out the dissenters, the ones that are going to go to those meetings and speak up and have the public opinion against the rescheduling. And I think that's part of like the icing of the kicker type of mentality from the government. They're the House. They're going to sit there all day, and they can wait and wait us all out until we can't be there, or we don't give a fuck anymore, or whatever it may be. And then that's kind of what that's my opinion on it. That's like exactly how I've seen other things work with legislation, and it's up to us. It's like people forget we have the power and we have the voices, but it's inconvenient for us, and that's the problem.
Why are you putting icing on a kicker?
Oh, oh man,
Because Casey couldn't.
What?
Kansas City couldn't.
Oh, damn.
Once again, nothing burger. Nothing's happening. Once again.
Mhm.
Don't know how many times I need to say it. They don't give a fuck about us.
Oh.
Talk about a non-story.
He's trying to say it's a
Right. We're reporting on a lot of news today.
Right.
You guys are just a big bunch of haters today.
I at 9 non-stories.
You guys are cute today.
America's #1. You already knew this channel.
High at 9.
You knew this already.
Mm-hmm.
We should start a high anon.
Well, all right.
Well, I guess we're gonna keep this train rolling. You guys don't have much to say about this. I'm pretty surprised.
Well, no, actually, okay. Chris Brady in the chat says, "I love you all, but you're all wrong. Getting out of Schedule 1 is the important piece." It's not if you're in the industry. It is if you want to buy weed from CVS and from pharmacies and from the government, as Rico calls it.
You won't actually be buying weed.
Jason, hey, I'm speaking. We're going to do a good job of letting other people
We're
talk
trying.
today,
We're working on it. We're working on it.
Including myself. We're going to be big boys today, and we're going to be respectful of one another because we're friends and we let other people talk. Getting it out of #1 is important, but you can't schedule something, period. It needs to be completely descheduled. A reschedule is just going to destroy the fucking industry. A reschedule is not going to take it away, because guess what happens if you get caught with anabolic steroids or Vicodin or ketamine and you don't have a prescription for it? You go to fucking jail. In fact, in a lot of ways, you go to fucking jail a lot faster and harder than you do for weed. So Schedule 3 is not helpful.
I agree with you on that, Jenny Beth. I totally agree with you on that. And on that, we are going to keep this train rolling. We are going to keep this rolling right on in to the golden voice himself, Mr. Todd Denkin. He's the founder of DigiPath Labs out there in the great state of Nevada. And I guess you guys are in Arizona too. And you got another state as well. And
Building.
Oh, building. Yeah. Keep building, bro. You know what I'm saying? Build back better. I'm with that. And also, too, he's also the founder of the Smuggleverse, where you can buy all of your digital dank to smoke in your metaverse. That's right. It is none other than the golden voice himself, Mr. Todd Denkin.
Thank you so much. As the crowd goes wild. Good Tuesday morning, everybody. A Florida bill to expand medical marijuana access by adding qualifying conditions and allowing out-of-state patients. That's what a new Republican-led bill in Florida is aimed at expanding access to medical marijuana, including adding new qualifying conditions, waiving fees for military veterans, letting doctors issue recommendations through telehealth, and allowing out-of-state patients to participate in the program, among other provisions. Measure SB 552 was introduced on Friday by Senator Joe Gruters, a Republican. If enacted, it would allow people to qualify for medical cannabis if they have a condition for which the patient was prescribed an opioid drug listed as a Schedule II controlled substance. Legislation would also require the State Department of Health to establish procedures to permit medical marijuana patients registered in other states to obtain marijuana from Florida dispensaries. Officials would need to issue, quote, medical marijuana use registry identification cards, quote, to qualifying individuals within one of the patients making the request. Another change proposed by the bill would waive registration and renewal fees for participants in the program who were honorably discharged from the U.S. Armed Forces. Other provisions would require patients to renew their registration in the system only every 2 years, rather than annually, allow physicians to recommend larger amounts of marijuana, and reduce the frequency with which a patient would need to be evaluated by a doctor. Patients could also be recommended medical marijuana through a telehealth visit with a doctor rather than in person. Currently, only renewals can be through telehealth visits, while initial certifications must be handled in person. And another change in the 10-page bill would forbid dispensaries from operating on the same parcel of land as a gas station or where motor fuel is offered for sale. It's interesting. Also last week, Reuters introduced a proposal that would allow medical marijuana patients in the state to grow to 2 cannabis plants at home, this time without separate provisions he had included in prior legislation, would have also cracked down on hemp-derived cannabinoids in the state. Bill SB 456 would allow state-registered cannabis patients 21 and older to grow up to 2 plants for personal use, provided they first apply for and obtain a certificate from the State Department of Agriculture and Consumer Services. The department would need to establish procedures for the issuance, renewal, suspension, replacement, surrender, and revocation of such certificates, including rules providing for the inspection and registration of each cannabis plant. Renters would also need to provide documentation when applying to show that their landlord consents to cannabis being grown on the property. Further, cultivation would need to occur out of public view and in an enclosed, locked space to prevent access to unauthorized persons and persons younger than 21 years of age. Reuters, a former chair of the Florida Republican Party, was a proponent of the backed legislation measure Amendment 3 last November, which would not have legalized home cultivation, appearing in an ad alongside Senator Chevron Jones, a Democrat, argued that the reform would be, quote, good for Florida, despite the strong pushback from Governor Ron DeSantis, a Republican. Reuters and Kim Rivers, the CEO of Trulieve, a medical marijuana company that provided the bulk of funding for Amendment 3, also met with Trump ahead of his endorsement of the constitutional amendment, as well as federal rescheduling and industry banking access. Meanwhile, just months after the Florida marijuana legalization initiative failed at the ballot, the campaign has filed a revised version in hopes of getting a second shot in 2026. Smart and Safe, Florida's 2024 measure, did receive a majority of the vote in November, but it fell short of a steep 60% threshold past constitutional amendments under the state law. Separately, lawmakers in Florida this session have also introduced bills that would protect medical marijuana patients, discrimination in government jobs, and prevent state courts from restricting certain parental rights based solely on a person's status as a qualified cannabis patient. I'm Todd Denkin with High at 9 News, and what are you guys thinking about Florida? I think that it's good if they expand the medical marijuana program. I think they feel guilty for not passing the law, right? The recreational, and maybe that guilt will allow people to expand that medical program, allow individuals to get what they need, allow, access to doctors to give recommendations for cannabis. I think it's all good.
Why would people feel guilty for not passing something, Todd?
Well, because I don't know. Well,
it was a terrible horseshit bill.
The market to thrive, but it's not thriving because of the recreational.
Florida has a thriving market just with medical alone. They have like over 900,000 patients in their database.
You're against recreational cannabis in Florida?
No, I'm against bad bills.
You're against that bill? Why?
I'm against bad bills. And that bill was horseshit.
I agree, Jason. I like my bills nice and crispy.
Yeah, I like
a monopoly on cannabis, because if we're talking about nepotism or we're talking about buying
they approved the home grow. Home grow is okay. Said no home grow.
My mic working?
Yeah, go ahead, Jenny.
Okay, cool. No home grow. And if we're talking about, Rico did a fucking whole blow up on nepotism and on buying your way into a free market that is no longer a free market. It is a monopoly, and it is exactly what that bill would have done, is monopolize. That's why there was so much money thrown into it by Trulieve, because it was literally the Trulieve Recreational Cannabis Act of Florida. So I think that Florida needs some actual access to recreational, I agree, to adult use, but it needs to be in something that actually opens the market up, allows people to take onus over their own health, to cultivate their own cannabis if they so choose. Mm-hmm. And it allows people another choice other than just fucking Trulieve being able to have a fucking complete monopoly and own the state of Florida. Also, on High at 9 News, Not News, did you guys know Ron DeSantis was a Republican?
Oh, God.
Hey, I'm rocking with you on this one, Todd. They are absolutely remorseful for not passing a legalization. Look, the
can't be serious.
The bag, the genie is out. Hey, come on. The genie is already out of the bottle. Trulieve it was a full-time Jack move. Like, would it create a monopoly? They already have a monopoly on the state, and we all know that the people that are in charge of that state are pro-monopoly anyways. So open it up and get these people the weed that they need. And they did propose in this, Gruder's proposed in this shit, that folks are able to have their own home grow. So big ups to them on that. Hopefully they get something done and they expand upon what already is in Florida.
I think it also sets the table for a new bill for recreational. If they allow for home grows now, they're not going to take it away right when recreational passes.
Yeah, but they might say that you only can have a
homegrown, and you got to jump through some hoops.
Todd, what they easily could say with that though is that only medical patients can have home grow.
Suppose they could say anything, but I think it loosens up if they do this and if they do that and if they do that, then it's regulated.
I mean, it just sounds like politicians are listening to their constituents and they're finally putting forth actual legislation that people want, rather than being paid off by a huge corporation to enact a legislation that is desired. And it's like, from the corporate standpoint to the societal standpoint, the citizenry, it's like, obviously these are really complex issues for, different cities and different municipalities in a place like Florida. There's probably a lot of pro and a lot of against, but everybody can agree that it's been a boon to their economy. It's helping create jobs. It's doing all the things that it's set out to do. But I can understand why there's been such political duress with this issue in a place like Florida, because it is compounding for so many more issues in a place like that. So I'm glad that they finally have done this. I'm a big fan of Florida. I've been there since the beginning of their industry and had a hand in creating one of the first licenses that actually was able to win their license in court. And that it's been a great kind of trajectory for that state, but it's one of the largest consuming states, that's for sure. And the fact that they've just been kind of incrementally growing this instead of really getting the stakeholders together from the inner cities or the other places other than just the landowners and just the farmers, because that's really what it is, right? It's like you're giving the chance to the people that have been there the longest. I understand that. Now it's time to open it up to the people that are making that city turn, that have businesses already, that are doing this work in other ways. But now it's restricted. It's illegal for them to continue to do that work, and it's illegal for them to grow or plant their own house, which has been already precedented in many, many states for over a decade. I mean, this is something that's like, we're like way beyond this. It's been over 10 years. Like, something needs to change in a lot of these places. Let's hope they do. But, let's go Florida. We love you. We want you to win. We want all the people to win.
Ron DeSantis did a great job of killing the messenger with this one. If I don't know who would have been able to even put that ballot initiative forward with all the money that True Leave put up, but it sucks that it was them and they were an easy target to be a bad deliverer of that message. So hopefully they get it together, and hopefully the people get the relief that they need, man.
Yeah, definitely.
Time will tell.
I think it's a good bill. I hope it passes.
Me too.
Roll into we're gonna roll into our next commercial, and we're gonna be right back. Are you a business that's suffering from the hyperinflation that is plaguing America today? We have the solution for you. That's right, Patriot Business Financing. Head on over to www.patriotbfc.com and apply for a loan up to $2 million. Any state, any industry, even the cannabis industry, the CBD industry, as well as the industrial hemp fiber industry. Secure up to $2 million today, and make sure that when you apply, you tell Paul you said hi from High at 9.
For MJ Biz.
Already.
All right, stop whatever you're doing. Make sure you smash that like button. I know we'll appreciate it. You'll appreciate it, and YouTube will appreciate it. Also, make sure to subscribe to the channel if you're not subscribed already. And all of the articles that we cover on today's show, you can read directly on our website at www.highat9news.com. I just ordered the summertime strawberry salad when added steak on top here at Anna's. Make sure you do the same thing too next time you're in downtown Long Beach. Come on down and check out Anna's joint on the 400 block of Pine Street. They have amazing selection of beers, foods, and when you come down here to Anna's, you can even challenge me to a game of shuffleboard if you want to lose. Did you get that? So, next time you're in downtown Long Beach on Pine Avenue, make sure you stop by Anna's Joint on the 400 block. Not only do they have Anna's Joint, this restaurant and bar, but they also have the amazing deli next door, and then next door to that they have a very exotic flower shop. You may want to stop by and say hi. Back, you guys.
Yes, we are, Jason. And the man known to many as the Sebastopol Sage is a second-generation cultivator and founder of Special Teams Consulting. And when he's not riding around and getting it, he is delivering stories to the masses. And those stories may or may not be written by J.R.R. Tolkien. Coming to the stage is none other than Yarrow Kubrin. What you got for us today, Dope Dad?
Good morning. Good morning. Coming from the dopest dad, being called a dope dad feels like I finally got jumped into the most exclusive gang.
Oh boy.
And I never want to leave. So thank you so much. My youngest likes to remind me that I am not the dopest dad on the streets. And so part of my family hazing now includes the fact that I don't have the title that you do as dopest dad. But anyway, without further ado, I started yesterday's show by talking about taxes. I appreciated that Rico picked up that article and helped our pundits as well as our viewers to understand a bit more about that article and about that news and the fact that it was federal and not state, which was a miss on our part yesterday. I apologize for that. And it is not a coincidence that I am picking up another article about taxes. This time, squarely leveled at the Democrats in California. So there is equal blame to go around for the fuckery that still substitutes as sound public policy. So without further ado,
Did you
so
just...
without further,
Oh yeah.
I didn't press the button, but I will dance to it like a marionette.
Let's get into it. Bash some Democrats. Let's go.
Without further ado, straight out the press from SFK and our guy Lester, who it really has, I think, doesn't get enough credit for the body of work he continues to put out there in respects to analysis of this industry. California pot industry faces extinction event following big tax hike. A looming tax increase could send more customers back to the illicit market. California's legal cannabis industry could be in for a brutal 2025. The state is considering increasing the licensing fees for legal businesses right as of a 25% tax increase looms in July. The great irony is that both cost hikes are in play precisely because the legal market is in such dire financial shape. The state is legally required to update the cannabis excise tax rate in July of this year to make up for a lackluster cannabis tax collections due to lower than expected sales. While the new rate hasn't been determined yet, it's widely expected to increase from 15% to 19% due to stipulations in state law. Meanwhile, the state's Department of Cannabis Control, or the DCC, is facing a $23 million budget deficit this year. The looming shortfall has left the agency considering raising licensing fees, a core part of its revenue, thus charging pot companies more to participate in the legal market. Karen Woodson, the president of the California Cannabis Industry Association, said in an email to SFK that increasing the costs of running a legal business would be catastrophic to the industry and drive customers back to the illicit market, which continues to thrive in California. The current model keeps one foot in regulation and one in prohibition, with dollars going in both directions. We must act swiftly to course correct, or California's legal regulated market will continue to face the risk of an extinction event, Woodson wrote. Amy Jenkins, the executive director of the California Cannabis Operators Association, told SFK in an email that a tax increase in particular poses an I can't even pronounce it today because my coffee's kicking so strong.
Existential
threat. Thank you. That was the right time to interject. To the industry. The truth of the matter is that for many operators, large and small, increased costs represent a tipping point that could mean closed door and surrendered licenses, Jenkins said. July 1 tax increase. The impending cannabis excise tax is in thanks to a 2022 deal brokered between Democrats in the legislature and Governor Gavin Newsom's administration. The agreement dropped a widely loathed cannabis cultivation tax in exchange for guaranteeing that overall tax collection wouldn't be reduced, meaning that tax reduction was not a tax reduction, but a shell game. Lawmakers agreed to eliminate the cannabis cultivation tax, which was widely blamed for making legal weed more expensive than illicit cannabis, in exchange for moving the excise tax collection from the wholesale level to the point of sale. That meant taxing the higher retail price instead of the lower wholesale price, which translated to an inherent increase in the tax. Don't you love the way lawmakers say they're going to do a tax decrease and then they put the little P under the shell and they actually give you a tax increase? That, my friends, is politicians at their best. So it basically translated into an increased tax. Lawmakers expected this increase to offset any revenue loss from removing the cultivation tax. Then, to make sure the tax was revenue neutral, lawmakers added a provision that forces the state to increase the current 15% excise tax up to 19% after 2 years if cannabis tax revenue does not cover what would have been collected through the rescinded cultivation tax. The deal went into effect July 1st, 2023, making this coming July 1st the increased deadline. If legal cannabis sales were thriving and tax collections were flowing into state coffers, the state wouldn't be forced to increase pot taxes because the excise tax would have been covering the lost revenue from the rescinded cultivation tax. Instead, California's legal cannabis market has contracted by over 20% in the last 2 years, and state tax collections have plummeted. Many cannabis businesses can't even afford to pay the existing taxes, with the state recently estimating that it is owed $1.3 billion in excise tax and penalties for missed tax payments. The California Department of Tax and Fee Administration is expected to announce the new tax rate later this winter prior to it going into effect on July 1st. But the governor's latest budget proposal has already baked in the tax increase, according to Seth Kirsten, a senior economist at the California Legislative Analyst's Office. Although we do not know yet for sure what the new tax rate will be, we expect it to be at or near the statutory cap of 19%, Kirsten said in an email to SFGate. Some interest groups, and I have said this over and over and over on this show, some interest groups that depend on cannabis tax revenue for government programs have already called for the tax rate to increase in the hopes that it provides more funds to the state. But the legal cannabis industry has united around opposing any increase, arguing it would make legal cannabis more expensive and run legal pot companies into the ground. In fact, Jenkins Industry Group was founded this year with that as its top priority. She told SFGate by email that raising the taxes would just further decrease legal sales and create a vicious cycle in which the legal market further contracts and customers go to the illicit market. The tax increase is already baked into state law, but the licensing fee hike remains a looming threat, albeit a big one. The DCC is funded primarily through the fees legal businesses pay to acquire a state license, yet there are not enough businesses entering the legal market to generate the necessary funds to support the department fully. As a result, the agency is looking at a $23 million deficit and considering increasing the fees on businesses to make up the gap, according to a DCC presentation given during a December advisory meeting. The DCC spokesman, David Hafner, sent an email to SFGate that the agency has not officially proposed increasing the licensing cost. He acknowledged that the department is facing a budget shortfall and pointed out that the licensing fees have not been increased since the department was formed in 2021. The department is currently projected to be solvent for this fiscal year. However, annual expenditures exceeding annual revenue for the Cannabis Control Fund, which is a primary funding source for the department, he wrote. Cannabis businesses already paying fees that are exponentially higher than their counterparts in the alcohol industry. State licensing fees for a beer producer are about $2,300, no matter how big the operation, and a winemaker could license a 10-acre vineyard for less than $1,000. And meanwhile, the state licensing for a 1 acre of cannabis is about $85,000. The DCC has never earned more revenue from fees than it has spent because it does a good job spending. According to an SFGate analysis of previous budget documents, the agency does have an $82 million backstop of cash, although that is down from a high of $169 million in 2021. The legislative analyst's office said last year in a report that it will be important for the legislature to closely monitor the fund's revenues and expenditures going forward to ensure it maintains a healthy fund balance. They want a healthy fund balance on an unhealthy industry. That's great. The possibility of raising licensing fees has been widely criticized by leaders in the legal industry who say that any increase in licensing costs will either increase the cost of legal goods or cut out the profit from legal companies, both of which would force more businesses to close. We're facing a stark reality where businesses are struggling to break even, much less turn a profit, said Woodson, the president of CCIA. There appears to be some interest in the legislature in avoiding the tax and fee increase. Matt Haney, a Democrat Assembly member from San Francisco, told SFGate in January that any increase in taxes or fees would likely drive businesses out of the legal market. Quote, I definitely understand the regulatory authority needs more resources, but that can't be at the expense of putting out businesses that are already hanging by a thread, he says. Okay, long article. Thanks for bearing with me. Hopefully I didn't put you all to sleep. I love articles that, frankly, are confirmation bias for what I already believe and have been saying on this show for a really long time. It saddens me, and I will kick this off for my other pundits and panelists, but it saddens me that those in a position of affecting public policy don't understand what you could learn from trapping 30 years ago, which is it's better to make a point on a pound and fill a box than it is to make $500 on a pound and sell 5 or 10 of them. And so the idea that they are going to raise the taxes because the temporary tax relief they offered wasn't actually tax relief means that they didn't understand that the only way to grow the regulated market was to drop the taxes to the floor and make sure that they did a volume business. When 20% decrease over the last 2 years in tax revenue, we know there wasn't a 20% decrease in cannabis consumption in California. I think they've failed. I think the writing is on the wall. And I was hopeful that at least tax relief would be a bipartisan position, both nationally and at a state level. This is Yarrow Kubrin, High at 9 News. What does everybody else think?
Yeah, I agree with you, but the middle fucking men are still putting 3 to 4 points on a fucking pack, so that's why they're not moving boxes. But hey, I digress. Listen, yeah, let's tax it some more. Let's make it more difficult to pay these fucking fees. Like, honestly, 90% of my clients are like, why the fuck am I even doing this? I turn around, I have a city licensing fee, a renewal fee. I turn around, I have a state licensing, a renewal fee. Oh, this year was really fucking cute in the city of LA because you had to pay your renewal fee as well as a annual application fee, because now we're transitioning to an annual model. So instead of just paying an annual fee, you're paying 2. It's double stacking because we are supposed to be the cash cow that's going to fix the deficit for the egregious overspending that the government likes to do all over everywhere, but California specifically.
I love
it's frustrating and it's ridiculous. Like, the taxation is absolutely ridiculous. When you look at some businesses and all told they're paying 40% taxes, if you look between the federal level, between whatever they're paying the municipality, between whatever they're paying the state, yeah, let's fucking jack it up. This is further proof that they don't give a fuck about us. They're not listening to us. Whoever's lobbying out there for us is doing a piss poor fucking job because we're not being heard and it's not going through.
Kevin,
I want a big shout out.
That's not lobbying in California.
I want a big shout out the freedom fighters that are fighting at the state level to better understand what the hell the state's doing. So big shout out. You know who you are out there. You're doing the Lord's work for all of us.
This is the thing. This is the most hypocritical part of the whole article, in my opinion, is you have the state saying that they are raising the taxes because they don't have enough licenses to cover their overhead, when if we got rid of local control and allowed and got rid of the ability for cities to block licenses and just allowed a free and open market in the state, they probably wouldn't have this problem, and they could probably actually even lower fees if we were able to have more retails throughout the state. This is just the biggest ridiculous crock of shit that I've ever heard from a bureaucracy that is trying to justify their tax increase.
If ifs and buts were candy and nuts, we'd all have a Merry fucking Christmas, Jason.
Well, it's only February, Jenny. It's 2/11.
Well,
and speaking, it's appropriate. It's appropriate that you're covering this story today, Yarrow, because it's 2/11, and everyone knows 2/11 is a police code for a robbery, and that's exactly what the state is doing with this to the cannabis industry.
And also, fuck ska reggae. Too many damn horns in that shit and not enough vocals.
I don't understand the reference.
Yeah.
Rico's going to get a tariff for that comment. That's for sure.
Look, I think look, we heard it 2 stories ago. 23% of cannabis businesses are successful, right? I wonder what that percentage is in California. What do they think tax increases are going to do? Make them more successful?
Exactly.
And increase license fees, more success.
Let me tell you something, DCC. If you're not getting enough money, then you need to downsize on what you're doing, because you guys aren't doing anything anyway.
Well, and they're using tax fees for prohibition and enforcement activities, which is that Prohibition 3.0. So then the licensing fees to fund the DCC are also being rerouted back into eradication and enforcement actions.
Well, that's something new. That's something new, Yarrow. They've been doing that. That was part of the legislation for adult use in Colorado 11 years ago. Right. Part of this has to go to educating youth and to prohibiting other, illegal businesses.
This sounds like a California USAID slush fund to me.
No, this is just bureaucratic logic. This is how 1 + 1 makes 5 in their mind, right? So this is typical. Obviously we know that the bureaucrats are there to tax us on every little thing in this state specifically, and it's not going well. And people, look, it's a matter of time until this hits critical mass. It's rapidly approaching the point where you cannot keep squeezing all of the people for tax money when they don't have money.
Yeah,
business is failing.
Exactly.
I just can't wait to see how this plays out for the Democrats in California, but it doesn't look good. It doesn't look good for us. It doesn't look good.
You know exactly how this plays out. Let's just give it a buck, Saman. The trap is gonna do what the trap does. These tariffs are fucking up the prices on everything, and people got mouths to feed.
Yep.
Buckle up, y'all.
I love that we're talking about it's going to. Let's not act like, never mind. All right, never mind. It's gonna.
We all know what's gonna happen. There's gonna be some wild shit that going on in the streets, and it goes back to less take-home pay for everybody across the supply chain. That's what's going on right here. Is a full-time jack moving while everybody was distracted by this and that. They were screaming about this at the end of last year that this is going to be implemented, and lo and behold, here it comes, and y'all motherfuckers caught off guard.
That is true.
I think the thing that's most insulting is that the industry called for tax reform, and what was done with Newsom in the legislature was not tax reform. It was like the Three Stooges making those funny noises, because all they did was take a tax from one part of the supply chain, allocate it to a different part of the supply chain, bake in that there were going to be no tax losses, and that in the event there were, they would make it up. So that's not tax reform. The problem that I have with that is then these policymakers are going to say, well, we tried to lower taxes and that didn't work. So now what's the point of doing it? When in fact, they never lowered taxes. It never worked, and they've never actually done it. And I think that's the biggest mathematical insult. And that to me is a real travesty.
It's like the shell game in New York City. It's like, where's the ball? Where's the ball? It's like, hey, they're really good at that. Hey, yeah, we're doing stuff. We're taking this tax away. We're just dressing it up as something else for you with the same rate. Actually, maybe an increased rate, but maybe over a couple different taxes instead of one large tax. this is the tomfoolery that we have to deal with. But I mean, it doesn't get better. Because we elect those people, and we elect the wrong people, obviously, to tell us, which laws are good for us and not.
Fair enough.
Clearly, Newsom and that senator from Oklahoma are at the same golf club, because they're swinging the same golf club at the head of the industry, and it hurts. And the challenge that I have is that
actually, Yarrow, I'd say one's using a 9-iron and the other one's using a putter.
In the Shire, we only do mini golf, so I don't know much about those different clubs. But what I would say is that the challenge that I have is, we have this industry that's been asking for reform. We have an amazing analogy with the alcohol and adult bev model, and I think that the analogies with vineyards and wineries and that as a product is a place where we can continue to mine those models for insight and perspective. And when we look at the tax on a 10-acre vineyard being less than $1,000 and the tax on a 1-acre canopy of cannabis being $85,000, that delta is all you need to know that cannabis isn't being treated fairly as an industry, and therefore isn't being given the opportunity to evolve and thrive and mature and sustain. And that is just insulting. I love wine. I love weed. The two of them could be taxed at a similar rate, and we would see, I think, an industry that really takes off.
Your story.
I didn't cover this story last week because there wasn't weed in it, but I think we could all take notes from Colombian President Gustavo Petro when he said that cocaine is no worse for you than whiskey.
Yeah.
We should go ahead and make it legal. And you know what? California will have a brand new cash crop.
Oh boy! Yeah. Oh boy! We're
wide awake too.
On that we're going to a commercial. Todd's getting too excited. He lives in Vegas, so you know what I mean.
It gets it going.
Oh man, your knees still bothering you, man?
Yeah, my left one, But I'll tell you what, I've been using this new CBD cream, and it works like a miracle.
CBDs? I done heard about them CBDs. I was out there on them Twitters the other day, and I heard they get you high as a kite.
Well, not this stuff. This stuff is tested. Every batch, all the way through, pharmaceutical grade, and in a GMP certified facility. So you're not going to have to worry about flying high.
GMP certified? I might have to try some of this out. Where am I even find this?
You go directly to aimhighhemp.com and they will ship it to your door right away. Tested. It's not a name, it's a promise.
And we are back, and we are going to roll right into Miss Jenny Beth Dills. She's the founder of Kind Cannabis and of Justice Served for Justice Impaired Individuals. That's right, it is none other than the voice and America's sweetheart herself, Miss Jenny Beth Dills.
My candy applause stop yet? We can't tell.
They have now. You can go ahead now.
Oh, good. In the ongoing debate over drug policy reform, one Democratic lawmaker says psychedelics are pulling ahead of marijuana in federal legislative momentum, while also calling out former President Biden for failing to take meaningful action on cannabis reform before leaving office. Congressman Lou Correa of California, chair of Congressional Psychedelics Advancing Therapies Caucus, all right then, says bipartisan lawmakers are making strides in advancing research into psychedelic substances like MDMA and psilocybin, while marijuana reform continues to lag after decades of effort. Correa points to the Department of Veterans Affairs, which has embraced psychedelic research while showing little urgency on cannabis studies. And despite strong advocacy, the FDA recently rejected MDMA-assisted therapy for PTSD, so Correa sees the ongoing debate as progress. On marijuana, the congressman expressed frustration, saying efforts to reschedule cannabis under Biden stalled and faced even more uncertainty under the new Trump administration. Meanwhile, Republican lawmakers are already pushing for a more restrictive approach to marijuana policy moving forward. For now, psychedelic research is gaining traction while cannabis reform remains stuck in political gridlock. A major shift in the drug policy landscape. One will continue to follow. So, yeah, cool. Told you this was gonna fucking happen. Yeah, we've done a really shitty job of advancing cannabis. And like I've always said, when you have some sort of cannabis policy, they're like, all right, cool, we have something, have it, this is what it is, suck on it, right? They're not going to continue to advance unless we push for it. And this is the danger when you try to do too many things at once. Something gets left behind. I literally said this was going to happen fucking 10 years ago. I'm like, oh, you start pushing too many things at one time, things get lost. People are getting frustrated because they're not making money in cannabis. This is where this is coming from. They're not making money in cannabis. So everybody who has had a failed cannabis company is like, oh, let me make a mushroom gummy. So at this point, it's really frustrating. It sucks, but we saw this fucking coming. It's very frustrating to see something that has been worked for so hard get lost in the shuffle. I definitely appreciate progress, but it's frustrating. So I'll throw it back to you guys. Interesting story. Kick it back.
Yeah, Jenny, I feel you. I feel you on this. It's people trying to jam too many things down the throat, and it's not all going to get handled right.
I mean, the states are doing a good job.
Really, Jason.
Like that.
The states are doing a good job of like taking the initiative. Like Colorado is really on the forefront of making sure they're doing quantitative testing, qualitative testing for efficacy of all these products that people are putting out because of their recent decriminalization of psychedelics. But like the therapies are, I mean, with regards to mental health in this country and with regards to psychiatric care and like, you know, there's this huge stigma there as well. And I think that from what I've seen a lot of benefit from the you know, the psychedelic assisted therapy sessions with friends of mine who've never done psychedelics in their life. They were, you know, in their mid-30s, and they had that experience with a licensed therapist to guide them through that journey, and it was amazing. You know, obviously, there's probably a lot of people watching here that have recreationally, you know, tried psychedelics, and it's fun. Mm-hmm. It's a great time for most. Jason knows very well. But you know, the main takeaway is that these things are medicines. These are medicines for, you know, your mental health. And if you use them as such, if our society looks upon these compounds as such, then I think there's a huge benefit. But when you have every, here's another one for you, Rico, every Tom, Dick, and Harry that's putting ayahuasca in a gummy, you know, there's a big problem with the way these things are being used and, frankly, abused, you know. So I think that's another key factor there is like, understanding that like the way consumers consume things and the way these, you know, plant medicines are coming to the forefront of society here, it's like you got to like teach people, you have to like give them a pathway. But it's sad to see that there's you know, there's this kind of a stalling of this. But I agree with what you guys both said. It's like you can't throw all the spaghetti at one time because it all gets mushed up together. So hopefully there's some stuff to like better news to come out of this. But, you know, shout out to all the companies that are doing really good work out there that are creating really clean plant medicine to put into gummies or to put into different form factors. Shout out Activated Brands out there. Some homies of mine in Colorado doing amazing work. So it's a matter of time before, you know, this gets regulated as well. And I think from a standpoint of a correction in scheduling, this is how that they should what they should be focusing on for rescheduling or Schedule 3 use of products, right? It's like we shouldn't be considering cannabis in that category, but definitely these lysergamides, these tryptamines, these different products for sure.
I agree with a lot of that, Saman. I actually do, believe it or not.
That's a whole lot of eyes, Jason.
As it was Saman, this whole thing was a whole bunch of knowledge drop right there. So it deserved a few eyes, and you know I'm a Gemini, so you know I'm multiple sided.
My favorite sign, other than Aquarius, you know.
Yarrow, you want to get off your soapbox for a second?
Yeah, I mean, I think that the total addressable market for psychedelics is not going to ever be as large as cannabis, even with microdosing. When we had Matthew St. Germain as somebody on this show, it was great to hear him evangelically promote psychedelics. And I don't disagree with a lot of the perspective he shared with our viewers, But I think even if we're talking about microdosing and we're talking about the clinical potential benefits and couples counseling with mushrooms and all those other things, I just think that cannabis is a much larger market with a much broader potential user base. And so, you know, and so I don't know. I mean, I've seen people accidentally kill themselves through the use of psychedelics. That's a very rare thing, but you know, I think there are risks with psychedelics that we don't have with cannabis. And that's, you know, it's maybe a contrarian view to say when we're on a plant medicine show, but you know, I'm hopeful that we see just some resolution in so much as I don't think people should be going to, you know, getting in trouble. I like that it's, you know, enforcement against mushrooms and peyote buttons isn't a high priority for most law enforcement agencies. But I think there's a lack of equivalencies with cannabis and psychedelic opportunities. And I think it's just going to be a much smaller opportunity in general, even if,
which is why it needs to be regulated by doctors, physicians, you know, and people
100%.
and that's precisely why I agree with you, Yarrow. Is like, you can't let it go out to, you know, the mass consumer because of the way we've been trained to consume things. It's like we just like, you know, oh yeah, give me that.
I don't want people to grow up and make the same. That's a lot of you know, enlightened pineal glands out there. All right, that's a little too much. You know, but for mental health, you know, specifically, it is necessary. It is something that I feel like everybody should experience if they're having, like, you know, the compounding natural issues of life getting under your skin. It's like these are tools that have been here for centuries. I'm a big proponent of natural alkaloids. It's, you know, they're useful. So, you know, but again, it's like you have to have a mechanism to make sure that people are getting the assistance they need in a complete package. With cannabis, you know, it's way more recreational. It's way less of an impactful plant medicine, as we know, but also can have a giant effect on a lot of people too. You know, I've seen people trip out on just smoking weed. You know, I don't know, like,
stop
you know,
it.
and crazy.
It's
yes,
gaslighting.
You know, hey,
Stop
Jason,
it. Stop it.
When Jason gives people a puff of that best weed in the world, you know, sometimes they freak out. They can't handle it.
OG with the OG.
Oh man, these pussies.
No, but I mean, it's definitely, if they sell spice and salvia in a smoke shop,
That's like, totally different. Yeah, I agree with you, Saman, on that. That stuff is half-assed backwards on why they're allowed to sell all that shit. That shit is crazy.
We should be able to have a market for this that's you know, regulated and that makes sure that there's only quality inputs in those products. And yeah, I only know of like really Colorado that's doing a lot of work at the state level to test this stuff. You know, big shout out CDPHE.
Yeah, you know, in the chat, if you guys are in the chat, drop a 1 if you think that cocaine is safer than psychedelics, and drop a 2 if you think psychedelics are safer than cocaine.
Well, we'll never know until they release.
Wait! You can't have a poll that's that simplistic, because cocaine isn't cocaine anymore. We have a fentanyl.
No, stop. I'm not talking about all that dumb extra shit, Yarrow. I'm talking about just what it is. All right, just what it is.
We'll never know until they release the research. But Jason, we can do this last commercial. We did our last commercial. You're supposed to introduce Saman. Closing us out today is a federal dope dad and industry vet. He's an award-winning solvent extraction pioneer, and while he's currently focused on helping menopausal women say hello, hi again, he's really impressed me today with these white people euphemisms. Slipped a Tom, Dick, and Harry in there too. Oh boy, do your thing. I see you trying to work your way up the chain there.
Razani. I got a trip to Florida planned soon. You know what I mean? All right.
Get him a job.
Yes.
Guatemalan all day. Okay,
Florida Razani.
All right, guys. Thank you, Rico. This is a beautiful intro. Big shout out. Hello again. Products.com is nationwide. Get your Hello Again products delivered. to your doorstep. And find us at helloagainproducts.com. I want to shout that out because that just happened. So I have an interesting, terribly, devastating article, because it just shows that there's going to be no change in these, Republican or GOP stalwart cities in my home state of Colorado. And I am sad to report that there is an effort to repeal a recent amendment to allow recreational cannabis in Colorado Springs, which is we've been waiting for a long time, 11 years to be exact. So this is pretty sad news, but this is the Colorado Sun reporting. A judge, well, it's good and bad, I guess. A judge blocks the Colorado Springs recreational marijuana repeal effort, calling it unconstitutional. So this is a good thing that a judge is stopping this effort, but it's bad that all of the legislators are, going against the wishes of the public. Very sad. Under Amendment 64 of the Colorado Constitution, local ballot measures to prohibit recreational marijuana businesses may appear only on general election ballots during an even-numbered year. Colorado Springs plans to ask voters to repeal recreational marijuana sales 6 months after they approved it in a wide margin, is unconstitutional, a judge said on Monday. Siding with two residents who filed a lawsuit against the city last month, Fourth Judicial District Court Judge Hillary Gurney issued an injunction to block the city from asking voters on an April 1st ballot to repeal Question 300. The ordinance to legalize recreational pot sales by existing medical marijuana dispensaries that passed by a 22,372 vote margin in November. So for those of you that don't know, Colorado Springs is a very conservative city. They have blocked any effort to allow recreational marijuana sales for 11 years there. And the voters just approved this question 300, by a huge margin, by, a landslide, let's call it. So I'll continue. Under Amendment 64 of the Colorado Constitution, local ballot measures to prohibit the operation of licensed recreational marijuana businesses may appear only on the general election ballot during an even-numbered year. The effort among the conservative city's elected leaders to overturn the measure started after Councilman Dave Donselson said at a January 13th meeting that the residents told him they were confused by the ballot language. No surprise there. He argued that Question 300 was poorly worded and another vote was needed to know once and for all if the city's residents wanted recreational marijuana in Colorado Springs. So sad that they have to go back again after they already voted to see who wants cannabis. It's crazy. The council voted 7-2 on January 28th to add the measure on the April 1st ballot that would ask voters to repeal Question 300, which passed when a record-breaking number of residents voted in November. Also on the ballot in November was 2D, which asked for a total ban of recreational marijuana sales. That measure, which needed the support of a majority of voters, failed with 49%. The push to repeal led to a standing room meetings in the city council chambers with dozens of residents, including attorneys, marijuana shop owners, and veterans, voicing their concerns over council members' anticipated decision to overturn the November vote and set a troubling precedent for future elections. The city council was in such a rush to overturn the will of Colorado Springs voters that it just ignored state law. Now the court has held the council accountable for its outrageous and unconstitutional actions. Adam Gillard, a plaintiff in the case and U.S. Air Force veteran, said in a statement, "We hope city council members receive the judge's message and they do not have the absolute authority over their residents. We also hope they won't disregard the law again." A spokesman for the city council declined to comment, citing the pending litigation. But Councilwoman Lynette Crow Iverson said in a statement that she was disappointed in the judge's ruling and that she looks forward to the appeal process. The city of Colorado Springs must mail out military 5 days before the election, which is February 14th. The city began accepting applications for recreational marijuana license Monday from those who already operate medical marijuana. The city has 60 days to review the applications. Stores could start selling recreational marijuana as early as April 10th if it does not get repealed. So this is interesting. It's like, I hope everybody watching that lives in Colorado or take notes of the names of these council members. These are the people that are literally trying to infringe upon your rights as a citizen there. They're not being met. They're trying to twist the words and do the political, shuffle around the issues so that you get confused and that you potentially change your vote to repeal this monumental, award for the city and for the residents there and for the business owners. Colorado's cannabis industry has been suffering for, many years now. And this is a big deal because most of those residents have to travel to like the one of two dispensaries in Manitou Springs, or they have to drive to Denver. So I know that, Jenny has had experience in Colorado. I want to put it to her, see what she thinks about this. I hope to God that it doesn't get repealed, but let's see what happens. I'm Saman Razani signing off. Thank you.
The win for the people.
Oh,
that's sad that lawmakers do this.
What is the Constitution, anyways?
That's very funny, Anna Lewis. She says, "Did any of the council members pee on any of the dispensaries out of spite?" LOL. That's pretty funny.
Yeah, maybe that's what that was. Maybe that's what that was outside of Levity's front door. I don't know. Whatever. Yeah, I just Colorado Springs. What the fuck? Like, you ever just want to shake the shit out of somebody?
Yeah, right.
The entire city council of Colorado Springs, I want to shake the dog shit out of for the most part. This has just been ridiculous. This has continued. Manitou Springs, listen, those guys are fucking crushing it. And just so you know, if this is Colorado Springs, this little dot right here is Manitou Springs. It's technically the same fucking city. It's just not. So it's really not that far. It's absolutely ridiculous. And the military-industrial complex and Focus on the Family and New Life Worship Center, whatever, is running Colorado Springs. And that's absolutely ridiculous. Colorado Springs has plenty of fucking federal money being poured into it. So they don't give a fuck about our little old tax revenue. They also don't give a fuck about the will of the people. And this has been very clear, because the fact that their response to the will of the people being heard is, we don't think you guys knew what you were doing.
This is the saddest part about it, is that, shouldn't those people be all about the freedom of their constituents and of their citizens? And that's the real issue with politics. It doesn't matter. This color factor has no effect on any of these people. It's money. That's all. It's influence driven, and we have to make sure that the right influence and at least the money is coming from places that we know and that we can account for, and not some crazy turned around mixed up way that we pay our tax dollars to come back to our senators and Congress people to then work against us. It's insane. It's insane.
Yeah, I think this is atrocious that they are going against the will of the people like this. And I think all of those city council members that voted in favor of this should all be recalled.
They're not just going against the will of the people. They're insulting their constituents and saying, hey, you don't know how to read these ballot initiatives, when we purposely threw something on there that was convoluting and to confuse you, and they seem to sort through it just fine and vote for what they wanted.
Yeah, this is crazy. It's going on a state level too, huh?
No, this is a city level, Rico.
City level.
City level.
City level. Yeah, that's what I meant. Excuse me.
Yeah, and let's not forget either that we've been trying to push this through for since I was running operations in fucking Colorado Springs, which was like 2016.
I was going to say, you've been out here in California for a while, Jenny.
And so the fact that they said this year, if it doesn't pass this time, you can't put this back on the fucking ballot. But they put it back on.
Yeah. Well, they're trying to. I think that's what the judge used was your law, that they can only put it on a ballot in an even numbered year, so they have to wait another year, but they're trying to pass this measure through. It's
so ridiculous.
It's complicated. I mean, it's complicated to the point where it's like, who has the right of way? Is it the judicial branch here, or is it the legislative branch? And this is just this is how everything is getting so confused at such a critical hinging point for growth. I mean, maybe tax revenue isn't the case, and maybe they don't care, but the business owners that can be in business, that can expand their businesses, that can change over their business revenue structure to increase that. I mean, you're just stalling that. You're not giving them the opportunity, and everything is opportunity based. It's like, just because in this day and age, just because you don't know something doesn't mean that you're dumb or something, but it means that you haven't had the opportunity, and that's sad. When there's so much opportunity being poured out left and right, that cannabis is the one industry that's always neglected with that opportunity, because we're fighting these existential battles with like these autocrats, with these theocrats, these people that use like the word of God against cannabis in some way to say, no, we can't use it. Let's change those things.
They all need to go. Yeah, they all need to go back and read Genesis 1:29. That's what it all comes down to.
We all know what it's about here on this show.
They do, Jason, and they say it's for eating, not smoking. So, I mean, I guess you have a brownie and that's not a sin.
I mean,
Well, we will see how they.
Yeah, this is a story we've been following all the way through this whole thing, and we're going to continue to follow this story out in Colorado Springs as any more new developments cover. So thank you so much for covering that. Rico, you ready to go?
Always, my brother.
All right.
All right. Well, thank you all for joining us for yet another episode of.
Oh, I see what you did there.
Episode of High 9 News. You can catch us live weekdays, 9 a.m. Pacific, high noon on the East Coast. Big shout out to the super fans getting their comments posted live on the big screen, announced live by the team. Do we have any today, Jason?
No super chats today, no, unfortunately, but it's going to be all right. It's going to be all right.
No way.
We did yesterday. Hopefully tomorrow. There's always tomorrow, Rico.
Arms for the poor. But big love to all the live audience and online supporters catching us across all media platforms, tuning in each day to the headlines of chaos, also known as the developing cannabis industry. Our vetted correspondent team tuning in from all over, bringing this much needed variety of perspective and your respected opinions to the table. Production team, Cloud Media Partners, all the sponsors keeping our lights on. Big shout out to AIM High Hemp.
Yes, and Catalyst.
Yes, paying our bills and keeping our AV struggles to a minimum. As always, Cannabis Steve L, the reason the High 9 News team reads these headlines daily. Thank you, too. It has been Tuesday, February 11th, 2025. The show's over. You've all been blessed. The top industry headlines. Hope it's enough for you to put in your pipe and smoke at least until tomorrow. My name is Rico Lamitte, the dopest dad on the street for a High 9 News. And today we're going to pop things right back out to the Iron Lion himself, Mr. Saman Tom Dickin Harry's Razani.
I just have the greatest respect and admiration for all my fellow castmates on this wild and wacky show. Thank you so much for everybody for tuning in every single day with us. It's amazing the community we formed. We have a lot to do, and we want to continue this journey together. So please continue watching, continue liking, continue sharing our message with people that you know. Bring more people to us, and let's continue to educate and elevate. Keep puffing tough, people.
Masturbate.
Whoa. Run it.